Lou Murdica. Man, I appreciate you doing this for us. I don't even know where to start, Lou. Tell us who you are. I mean, I know who you are, but tell people who you are.
Uh, Lou Murdica. Been shooting Benchrest since 1982. Been shooting F-Class for about 10 years. Shot Benchrest score, Benchrest long range. I do Benchrest and laying on the ground F-Class rimfire.
Okay.
And I shoot a little bit of ELR.
Wow. You do everything.
I do everything that doesn't require running.
Ah, I see.
No running, no climbing, no ladders, just shooting.
All right. So, pretty much all the sports you just mentioned are pretty much precision sports, right?
Yes.
So it seems like you appreciate precision.
I do.
Only accurate rifles are interesting, right?
Yep, I do.
So let's start with Benchrest. I don't know if you saw my interview with Jack Neary, who is I'm sure someone you know.
Yes.
It blows a lot of minds just because the way you guys do things. I mean, you guys are. I mean, if you wear out a barrel in 500 rounds, but you get zeros all the time, you're gonna wear out the barrel. You don't care. You're chasing that zero group at all costs, pretty much. Am I correct?
At this stage of the game now compared to the 80s, our products out there, if you get the right ones, are just unbelievable.
Uh-huh.
And you can get 1,000 rounds, no problem.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you guys prioritize group size over anything else, right?
I prioritize group size over everything and every shooting I do.
Right. Well, I'm just saying. F-Class is score shooting, so it's totally different. Is it? Or I've never shot Benchrest, and this is why I wanted to interview you, because you shoot Benchrest, and that's pretty much been your primary sport, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And you've been shooting F-Class, so I'm trying to figure out how they relate, how does one apply to the other, or does it?
It's actually really close. It just, believe it or not, the only two differences. Number one, you're laying on the ground, but when it comes to the guns, the ammo, the case prep, the scopes, the barrels, bullets, it's all the same. It's got to be right. Because in F-Class, just picture, it's like Benchrest. Your first shot is the X. You're chasing the X.
Right.
Well, in Benchrest, your first shot, no matter where it hits on the paper, you're chasing it. So there's really no difference in holding off. Yeah, you hold off a little further because your bullets travel further.
Right.
It's like rimfire 50 yards and Benchrest 100. I mean, when you shoot the 6 PPC, you might hold off 1/8 of an inch. With a rimfire, you hold off an inch. Same wind. So it's all the same principles. It's all gun handling. Everything you do is pertains to the same. If you use cleaning the gun, loading your bullets, sorting your whatever you sort, your ammo, your cases, as long as you just do it and produce good groups, you're going to shoot good at F-Class, long range. I set more world records. I tested everything at 100 yards. And I know all these guys like Brian, that don't matter. 100 yards doesn't mean nothing. If it don't shoot at 100, it ain't gonna shoot. Okay.
I'm gonna start a slow clap.
I have set world records at 600 yards, 1,000 yards in Benchrest, all being tuned in the tunnel at 100 yards. Okay.
Well, you know who's famous for.
Go ahead.
I say, I'm fairly that's kind of, I'm fairly known for tuning at 100 yards. Even though I have a
Yeah.
1,000-yard range, I do 100
Yeah.
yards, and I say exactly what you just said. If it doesn't shoot at 100, it's not. I don't have any of those magic bullets that all of a sudden come back together. Once they deviate, they're gone.
That's
So
it.
anyway,
That's it. And like you said, bullets are. I mean, there's so many products that are so important in this game, in all the games. It's just not just Benchrest. It's all the games. That's why you see everybody improving. Guys are just starting to shoot really good because they're starting to do a little more, not just going out and just loading the ammo with the same load and all that. They're learning. Whereas we've been doing this in Benchrest for years. So it applies over. Our scopes are getting better. We don't have as much movement in them as we used to. They used to be horrible. But as the products improve, everything else improves.
well, and I think the other reason that new shooters improve so fast is because we've already weeded out all the stuff that doesn't work, right?
That's right.
All they have to do is copy what you're doing or what I'm doing, or they just look at, okay, who won the nationals? What were they using? And all they have to do is copy that, and they're going to be so far ahead of the game.
I mean, get close. There's, you got where if you go out to the range and you start to do load workup, I always tell everybody, start with 2 shots. If the 2 bullets don't go together after 2, they ain't gonna go together. They ain't gonna get any better.
Nope.
You might as well move on. There's something you gotta change. Seating depth, powder charge. Those are the most common things that you change: the seating depth and powder charge.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about Benchrest for a little bit, and then we'll transition into. So Benchrest, you have the most beautiful group I have ever seen in Benchrest, where not only is it a tiny group, you put it right in the center.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle. So that's double rewarding, right? But
yeah, it was. It was. A lot of people look at it. I got to hang on the wall. A lot of people look at it and goes, "Oh, that's 1 shot." I go, "No, that's 5 shots."
Yeah.
And I've got another one real similar. That was, I shot one in NBRSA organization, and I shot another one just like it in IBS organization. So I've got 2 that are really nice. And I mean, it's just that, like I said, you chase your first shot. So if the wind puts it in the middle, that's where you're going.
So Benchrest, I mean, you guys clean like crazy. Is that something that you do as well?
I clean usually every 2 to 3 groups. I clean always the 3rd group, after the 3rd group or before. Usually I start clean, shoot the first 2 groups, sometimes the 3rd if I'm not shooting a lot of rounds, and then I won't clean till after the next 2. And then at the end, then I really clean after that.
So about every 20, 25 shots, roughly?
Yeah, 25, 30 shots. Okay. Now, I got an old friend that he's no longer with us that shot Benchrest forever. And him and his brother used to shoot zeros after zeros. They were called Gil and Wally Hudson. And Gil always said, because his brother was handicapped, he always never cleaned until after 2 groups. He said they shot more groups on the 2nd group than ever.
Screamers?
Always on the 2nd one, never on the 1st one.
Okay, so the screamers would come on the 2nd one. Okay.
That's for him.
Okay, okay. Now, do you use abrasives like IOSO, JB board paste?
I use abrasive. I use a lot of IOSO.
Mm-hmm.
I use, I don't know, it's kind of frightening. Have you ever seen me use a drill?
Yeah.
I use a drill always.
Yeah.
I use a blue.
I also brush. Yeah, the
I
I
use
also brush.
these things, eliminator brushes.
Yeah.
They hold up the best with the drill.
Mm-hmm.
And I clean and shoot so many guns all day long, different calibers, that my arm would fall off. It literally would. So I use a drill motor, and I used to use a bronze brush.
Right.
I never had a problem, but I had a barrel inspect. I took a brand new barrel, shot it, used a bronze brush with a drill, and sent it to have it checked out. And they said everything looked fine, except you could see where the brush would hit the lands, and on one side, and it would scrape the brush. Part of it would be left in there. And I just did it and left it so they could check it. So I went to a plastic brush now, and I get none of that. And I have no problem. But yes, I clean. I clean that. And like on my 6 PPC or 308, I have another drill set up on a rod, and I clean my neck of my chamber, which you build up a carbon in there, and that will change pressure as your case grows. I pressure test, and you can prove that when your case gets out there, I trim a lot, but I did it so, say I wasn't a trimmer, I was just an everyday shooter. And I use that drill, and I go in there with a 30 caliber, and I just go right in to the neck, and I clean that carbon right at the end of the neck. I get rid of that carbon buildup. That's important.
Yeah. I tell people, when I teach classes, or even on my private forum where I teach people reloading, I tell them, do everything the same every time. And that includes trimming. I trim my breast every time because I have tested that. And
it's your first crown.
I found out that my groups would change if I didn't trim.
Yes.
At 1,000 yards.
Because it's your first crown. And that's where the pressure, when it's building up in a case, it changes as soon as the bullet comes out of the gun. If the case is 2 thousandths, 5 thousandths longer, it's different. You get a different pressure. So you're trying to get everything the same, and that's one of the tricks. Your crown and your other crown. Those are important.
Right, because when we chamber barrels, do you do your own barrel work?
I do when I need to. I have a full shop, 2 lathes, mills, everything. But I've got a friend, which is Mike Stasenko. He's all CNC, and a lot of times I'll go there with 4 barrels and just whip them out in 4 or 5 hours compared to me.
Yeah,
4 barrels would take me a week and a half.
Yeah, because what I was going to say,
I am not a machinist, so I go really slow.
Well, what I was going to say is, you know how it is when you chamber a barrel, you focus on it being concentric at the freebore area, right? The throat.
Oh, yeah.
You don't care about anything else. So and then the other area, at least the way I chamber, and I learned from Speedy, so
there you go.
I check the crown as well. So I get those 2 running concentric, which is your 2 crowns like you're talking about. And as long as those are happy, as Speedy would say, as long as they're happy, everything else is happy. So
that's right.
I never had thought about it as a second crown, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, obviously on F-Class, you can't clean every 20 rounds. You don't clean between stages, do you?
No, but I did at first. And guys would laugh.
That's crazy when even the F-Class guys are laughing at you for cleaning too much.
But I did some work, and I figured the most you're shooting in a day before I clean is 100 rounds max.
Right.
And then I'm cleaning.
Right.
So yes, I clean at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If it's an older barrel and I get a break to where I can clean, I'll go down to the car and I'll clean.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And that's why I don't pull off barrels because they don't shoot. I pull them off because they get too dirty. You know what I mean? And then,
Yes.
and now you're running the liability of what if I don't have time to clean, right?
Yeah.
And that's most of the time why I will pull off a barrel. I mean, I pulled off barrels that shoot great, but they just won't make it through a whole day
Right.
without me starting to worry about it. So I
And
completely
in
understand.
Benchrest, see, you get 30 minutes in between each time, and that's plenty of time to clean.
Yeah, but you know what F-Class is like. You're done shooting, you get on the shuttle, you got to go to the pits, and then you come out,
Yep.
you got to score. There's really no time. But
No, there isn't.
Like I said, most of the time, I if a barrel's getting old or it starts to build up, I just pull it off because there's no time. So, do you make bullets? I saw you were you making bullets the other day? I follow you. I know what you do.
Yeah, I was. I've been making some today.
But you're
I'm
making
going to Visalia.
you making them only for your PPC, or do you make them for your F-Class rifle as well?
PPC only.
Yeah.
And I only make them when I need them, only for myself or the grandkids.
Uh-huh.
But most of the grandkids shoot burger columns. I've got 4 grandkids that shoot competition, and they shoot F-Class too.
Uh-huh.
And but I'm running low right now. The past year and a half, I've been shooting Pine Heart bullets, which are just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
You could see all the winning I've been doing with them. And he's making me more, but I want to make sure I have enough for the season. So
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot mine in Visalia, which I'm comfortable with because they're proven in the tunnel.
Right.
It's just that I've always said if I could buy a product that will do perfect, I'll take it. I don't
Right.
need to do it.
Right. So the tunnel. I mean,
Yes.
I mean, you are as set up as probably better than some bullet manufacturers or ammunition manufacturers. I mean, you have your own tunnel. You have pressure testing
Yes.
capabilities. You have rail guns. I remember I asked you the other day if you had a rail gun. You're like, yeah, I got 8 of them.
Yeah.
I laughed. But
I could spin this around and show you a lot of this.
well, we'll get to that here shortly. But a lot of people don't really understand. See, most of what I've learned, obviously I've learned from a lot of people, okay? But you know how it is. Everybody has an opinion. There's a lot of
Yes, they
facts,
do.
but there's facts, but they're wrapped around an opinion, right?
And it's okay. But
Exactly. However, one thing that I did early on is I had access to 1,000-yard range, and pretty much everything somebody would tell me, I would go test it. I wouldn't just start doing it. I would go and test it, and I would go and
That's
test
right.
it, and test, and that's how I got to where I'm at. But and I was able to weed out a lot of stuff that didn't matter, and then I had to. Sometimes I'd be driving around and start thinking about like the trimming thing that nobody told me about trimming, that it would make a difference. One day I was driving around and I go, because I used to go, well, I'm not going to trim because I hated trimming. And I said, I'm not going to trim because if I need to trim, I'm just going to throw the brass away. That was my initial thing. But I noticed that I would do everything the same. The only thing I wasn't doing was trimming. And as my brass had more firings on it, the groups kept getting less and less consistent, and my speeds would change, and it just drive me crazy. And then I thought one day, well, let me trim the brass because I'm just, that's the only thing I'm not doing, so it's easy to test. And I borrowed a trimmer, a Giraud trimmer from a friend. It was a real easy test. I loaded 10 rounds of my normal stuff and I trimmed 10 more. I went to 1,000 yards. I didn't have an electronic target at the time. I had a friend mark the shots. So I shot 10. I cleared the gun. He came out, marked the shots, shot another 10. And he called me on the phone and he said, I don't know what you did to the second group, but it's like half the size of the first one. And the only thing I had done is trim. And I thought, okay, I trim every time now. You know, those minor little things that seem minor, but they're so major when you're shooting 1,000 yards.
They really are, because if it shows up at 100, it's going to show up at 1,000.
Oh yeah, drastically. So you do all your stuff. What I'm gonna give people a little more background about you, but because you did all the testing for the burger book, is that correct?
Yes, I've done. Well, I used to do all their testing completely till they moved to Mesa, and now that they have their own tunnel there, they're starting to do their own testing, and I test less. Every once in a while, I'll get bullets from them. They'll say, "Please give us your opinion."
Okay.
You know, and I'll do the test, but that for long range, you got to remember, Burger Bullets was a Benchrest bullet. Okay. And David Hamilton is the guy that runs all the manufacturing at Burger Bullets. He's in charge of it. He's down on the floor. That's Walt's grandson.
Okay.
And he shot Benchrest forever. So he knew and used to make the bullets for Walt when Walt was making them by hand. So he knew what it takes. And I mean, I know people have different opinions of different bullets, but I'm telling you, they're all just trying to be like Burger. Burger has such quality control and wants everything so perfect. And if they don't shoot, they don't sell them. I mean, it's just the way it's done. They just throw them in the trash and change something.
Yeah,
because one little change in your die pressure, whatever, changes the bullet.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've ruined bullets by pointing them, by trying to make them better, and I've ruined them. But
that's right. Pointing. Again, a lot of guys point, and you can point. I won't say you can't. You got to be so careful because you're taking the strongest part of the bullet and trying to change it, and the weakest part is right there at the lead line. And we did a lot of testing with Burger on pointing, and they couldn't believe how much it was bending. And